What's something people don't know about the afterlife? Here's a cheeky story that'll tickle your funny bone. So, a man dies and finds himself at the gates of heaven. St. Peter greets him and says, "Mate, we've reviewed your life, and frankly, you haven't done anything particularly good or bad. We're in a bit of a quandary here. Anything noteworthy you can tell us?" The man thinks for a moment and says, "Well, there was this one time. I saw a little old lady being harassed by some thugs. I pulled over, walked up to their leader, big bloke with a lip ring, and yanked that ring right out. Told them to leave her alone or face me." St. Peter, quite impressed, asks, "Wow! When did this happen?" The man replies, "About 3 minutes ago." And that's how you leave an impression, folks. Cheers.
What do I need to do to get in?
St. Peter replied.
First, I need to ask you a few questions. How did you live your life?
The man thought for a moment and said,
I was a kind person, always helped those in need, donated to charities, and treated my neighbor as myself.
St. Peter nodded.
Very commendable, but I need a bit more proof. Can you tell me the most generous thing you've ever done?
The man puffed out his chest and said,
I once donated $100 to a charity.
St. Peter raised an eyebrow.
That's good, but how does that compare to others?
The man thought harder and said,
Well, I also stopped for a stranded motorist. I gave them $5 for gas.
St. Peter chuckled lightly.
That's fantastic, but again, I need something that really stands out.
The man sighed.
All right, I did once give my last slice of pizza to a friend.
St. Peter paused, looked at him, and then asked,
How do you expect to get in with just a slice of pizza?
The man, desperate and flustered, exclaimed,
But that's what I'm trying to tell you. You've got to try it. I had just enough to get a slice, but I put my friend above myself.
St. Peter smiled knowingly and said,
Well, it looks like you showed some divine taste after all. Come on in.
A brand new soul arrived at the Pearly Gates. As he approached, he noticed St. Peter appeared quite busy, sorting through a mountain of paperwork. The soul cleared his throat and St. Peter looked up, slightly overwhelmed.
Welcome to heaven. Just a minute, please. I have to finish inputting these heavenly records.
The new soul waited patiently for a little while. Noticing the chaos, he asked,
Do you always have this much paperwork?
St. Peter sighed.
You wouldn't believe it. Every day people come in with different stories, and I have to sift through them to see who makes the cut.
The soul chuckled.
Well, how do you decide? Do you have a system?
St. Peter paused and replied,
Oh, it's quite simple. If they can make me laugh, they're in. Laughter is the best form of worship up here.
Intrigued, the new soul said,
So what do you find funny?
St. Peter thought for a moment and replied,
2 things. Really good puns and people's confused faces when they realize they forgot to put on their halos at the gate.
The soul laughed.
Well, I can be funny, but let me tell you a serious life lesson instead.
St. Peter raised an eyebrow.
You can try, but I'll let you in if you make me laugh.
The man began recounting his life, filled with tales of misfortune and hardship. St. Peter listened intently but felt no laughter bubbling up. Finally, the man finished.
And that's my story.
St. Peter said dryly.
Very enlightening, but I'm afraid that won't cut it.
Frustrated, the new soul exclaimed,
I sacrificed a lot for my family. Does that give me points?
St. Peter nodded.
Sure, but no comedy points.
The soul paused, then sheepishly said,
Well, I guess my biggest joke was believing my in-laws would ever go back home.
St. Peter erupted in laughter.
Now that's a heavenly punchline. Welcome to heaven.
One day an angel approached St. Peter at the Pearly Gates, looking flustered.
St. Peter, I'm confused. What do I do if a soul arrives and insists they deserve to enter heaven, but they were quite naughty on earth?
St. Peter smiled and replied,
Ah, my dear angel, the key is not to focus solely on their past, but to know how they've changed.
The angel scratched his head.
Right, but what if they just want a free pass for the good times?
St. Peter chuckled and said,
Then you ask them to tell you a joke. If they can't make you laugh, it's a sign they're not quite ready.
The angel thought about it. Moments later, a new soul approached, looking terrified.
What must I do to get in?
St. Peter asked him.
Can you make me laugh?
The soul hesitated before saying,
Well, I once tried to train my dog, but it turns out he was training me.
St. Peter burst into laughter and replied,
You've done it. Welcome.
The angel watched, bewildered.
But he was a terrible person on earth.
St. Peter smiled and said,
Yes, but everyone needs a second chance, and humor, that's a free pass straight to the gates.